the show today. I'm Katherine Jenkins, and this is the Jenkins Art Studio. Have you ever wanted to begin oil painting but were just too afraid to try it? It looks so hard. Everything you see looks so difficult. Well, today we're going to show you some techniques, and these are the things you need to learn before you start doing any complicated compositions or color schemes. These are the basic brush strokes on how to do some real easy and beautiful flowers. So we're going to come down to the palette, and I'm going to show you the paint that we have. And we have some beautiful, beautiful colors here, all kinds of colors. And this is a palette that's just kind of messy. If your palette isn't messy at home, that means you're not working. So don't worry about having a messy palette. Didn't bother to clean off my palette this time because I wanted to show you all the colors that we're using. And some of these colors I've mixed with white, but the most important thing today is going to be the brush strokes and the shapes of the flowers. And the colors will be just some added beautiful things that we'll put in. Let's take a look at some of the flowers that we might get into today. I have a canvas that I've got all made up, all different flowers. We've got geraniums, lilacs, tulips, poppies, roses, marigolds, daisies, all kinds of little flowers. Now, of course, we won't get time to do all of those today. A lot more of these flowers I'll get a chance to do on the technique tape, but we'll get just as many as we can today for you. Up here we've got a stretched canvas. Now you can practice on palette paper at home, but right today we're going to use a stretched canvas. Let's start out, let's play around here and pick up some crimson. And how about, let's start out with, oops, that's not crimson. They look the same on the palette. Let's pick up some crimson over here. That was mauve. Mauve and crimson look very similar. A lot of times in class, the students will have to write the names on the palette, and that's fine. If you can't remember the names, just take a little pen and write all the names down, because some of the colors do look similar until you get them up on the canvas. Let's start over here in this corner, and come on in close. We're going to block in a shape that, now remember, I paint from photographs, and you should be painting from photographs too. You have to know your subject, so study your subject. I've used a little medium on the canvas, a little medium on the brush. That just thins down your paint, and we'll get some little ragged edges, just kind of an oval shape or a round shape, and that starts the base tone for your geranium. I'm going to wipe off my brush, and let's make a nice bright red geranium. And let's go in here to a filbert brush, that rounded brush, and pick up a little medium, not too much medium now, not near as much as what was on the base tone. This is that red light, beautiful, beautiful red. Now the geranium has many, many little flowers. It's a little clump of flowers, has a lot of different little flowers all together. They're all touching each other. So we'll start out on the outer edges and just indicate some little petals. Now this is the stroke. I'm pushing down and lifting up, pushing down and lifting up. But I'm going towards a center point in all these, and I'm just indicating, coming out beyond the edge of that base tone, just indicating, and I'm going to go around and get all these little edges. Now don't get this real perfect. You want some to be drooping down a little bit lower, and just, you would start many flowers like this. You would start the edge of the chrysanthemum, all these ones that have little petals in here. Now I'm going to get a little lighter. I'm going to pick up some orange, cadmium orange, with the red, and start getting a little lighter. Stay away from the white paint. On a red flower, you don't want to get into the white paint too soon. I'm going to make a little edge. See that with the edge of my brush? And then I'm going to paint into it. Let me lighten that up just a little. I'll add just a touch of white, very, very little white. Let me do that again for you. Little edge. This would be one that's slightly turned to the side, one of those little flowers. Now in a few minutes, you'll be able to see these a little bit lighter. I'll get them a little lighter. I'll add maybe a little yellow to that and a little white to that red color. When you're at home painting, you'd be able to see these a lot better, and you don't need to add much white, remember, until the very end. This is the middle tone. I'm just plunking around, filling that bouquet in. And let's get maybe a couple shooting out right here. Here's where you can see that stroke. little edge of the, little kind of a half round with the edge of the brush, and then you're going to paint into it. You see that? And that is the center right there of that flower. Maybe another one out here. So often in the geranium they have little ones shooting up away from the other bouquet. Now let's get some stems in there. And I'm going to use the chiseled brush again, pick up a little sienna and green. And let's get a few little stems. Now in a minute we'll highlight that flower. Let's just, oh, they have, you know, pretty wide stems, actually, geraniums. If you ever look at them, they're kind of wide and gnarly, so you can make the main stem wider. Now they have all these little guys coming off, going all to the individual flowers. These are fun little flowers to paint. Real happy little flowers. You might have little things coming off the stem. And then we've got a little tiny filbert brush. This is that real tiny one. We'll pick up a little bit of medium, and I'm going to pick up some red on the brush, and then I'm going to go over here to the green, just on the tip, and see what I've got up here on the brush. See, I've got green on the tip and red on the rest of it, and we're going to come in just with the tip of the brush around and push. Look at that. Isn't that neat? Those are those little buds that hang off the edge of the geranium, or from underneath. Those cute little guys that hang down. You can do it all with one stroke. Let's go in now and highlight the geraniums a little bit. You have usually a base tone, a dark tone, a medium tone, which was our red, and now we'll highlight a little bit, which is your lightest tone. I'll take some orange and a little bit of white, not much, because I want this geranium to stay pretty red, and we'll just go in and hit a couple of strokes. Couple of little petals. I'm just dipping down for more of that color and just highlight here and there, usually in toward the center of the bouquet. Just let's try some pink. How about some pink on there? Some geraniums that are red, they might go into a little bit of a pink tone, and we get these nice pretty pink ones. Don't forget to overlap. Some of them you don't even show the whole flower, you just show part of it. There, get some nice brights. Nice bright ones so you can see. And we'll leave the outside edges kind of dark. Now geraniums have a little bit of a center, maybe a yellow and green mixed together. And you can just come on in here real close, tap a little center in some of them. You don't want to do it in all of them. Just in a few, maybe up here. Oh, and we'll hook these guys on with just a little stem showing. Okay, that's your geranium. That's real simple to do. Now let's try another flower that is similar. We use pretty much the same brushes, but the thing that changes this is the color of the flower and the shape of it. Let's try some lilacs, some beautiful lilacs. We'll go in with our mauve. Maybe I'll add a little bit of ultramarine blue. I'm using that Badger chisel brush again. And how about right here? And we're going to block in a shape. Now this is more of a cylinder shape. And before we had that round, kind of a ball or an oval, this is more of a cylinder shape. And you see how messy? I'm just plunking around in the middle. And then we're going to, with the filbert brush, some nice little edges coming out on that one too, just like we did before. Some little, just start indicating some little petals. Now, lilacs are neat because they come in so many different colors, as the geranium does. They come in, oh gosh, we have real lilac-y, purple colored ones. They come in pink, they come in white. Some are more blue, some are more pink. They have these little buds up at the top. Now this is just a base tone. I'm blocking in a very, very loose shape. And then let's get a little stem on there to start with, so it has something to grow from. And you might see several stems because they're going to many, many different flowers. And I'm going to rinse off my brush and pick up some white. Maybe here I have some white and mauve mixed together, or mauve, or some people call it lilac. And we'll do the same little stroke, that same little push and lift, push and lift, push and lift. That would be like a whole flower looking straight on. And maybe if you were looking at that flower from the side, it would look like this. It would look like that. And that's all we're doing in there, and just putting a whole bunch of them in. One thing you don't want to do, I'll show you a mistake that a lot of people do. They'll put a little flower in, and then they'll skip a big space and put another perfect little flower in. Well, I can't even skip a space. I crashed into that one. I'm so used to overlapping my flowers. Here, let's try it up here. What'll happen is you'll have a bunch of little stars all over, and it won't look realistic because there's jillions and jillions of little flowers. So some of them you just indicate, you just put partial flowers, partial petals. And I love lilacs. So many of you I know that grow your gardens, especially when you have colder winters like we do in Oregon, you can grow lilacs. Couldn't grow them in Florida. But we have a big lilac tree. Actually, it's the neighbor's tree. And we get to enjoy it because it's so big, it comes up over our fence. And I'd like to grow all the different colors of lilacs. I'm just plunking around in here, just filling in this area, keeping in mind all the ragged ins and outs of the edges. You don't want a real tight shape of a cylinder. It goes in and out, in and out. And up here, now I still consider this, even though there's white on the brush, I consider it a middle tone, not your lightest. Maybe some little buds. I'll show you how to put some little buds up there in a minute. Let's do that. We'll do that right now. I'm going to pick up another little brush. This is our little sable round. Comes to a nice point. And I'm going to pick up some mauve, or you could use crimson. And I'll show you how to do some neat little buds up here. Let's put some out to the side. Just the edge of the tip of the brush, come up and push, tip, push. See that? Little guys. See if I can keep my hand out of it. There we go. They grow off the edges or the tips of the lilacs. Sometimes you see a lot of them. If the stalk of lilacs isn't open completely, you'll see a lot of those little guys up there. Okay, I'm going to rinse off my brush and pick up a little bit of white in the mauve. A little bit more white this time. And we'll go in for our highlights. Now we'll go again kind of in the middle, because as an object, which this is actually, it has all sides, so it goes around. It's a long cylinder, but it goes around to the other side. Well, as something goes around the edges, it gets a little darker on the edges, so most of your highlights would fall right through the middle area. So let's put some nice bright guys. I'm going to dip down, pick up some more paint. Now I have no idea how many petals these have, and not very many of them you're going to show all the petals anyway. Remember to let a little bit of your dark show through here and there for the contrast. And we'll just highlight a few of these kind of toward the middle and let it go a little darker toward the outer edges. By doing that constantly, push down and lift up stroke, what's happening is your brush is releasing most of the paint. In this case, we were using white or a light mauve. Your brush is releasing most of the paint where you push down the heaviest, and where you lift up and pull away, your brush is releasing less paint. Therefore, you're letting that dark show through on the underneath side. That makes sense, doesn't it? It really isn't a big mystery to painting. Long as you know some simple, basic techniques, there is no big mystery about it. So I really hope you have your pens and your paper today and take a lot of notes while I'm doing this. And it's really just very methodical, step by step, step 1, 2, 3, and then you have a lilac. And we'll dab just a little bit of green or green and yellow in some of these. And if you wanted to, you could put in a few little leaves. I did another technique show that was all on leaves, and we got into a lot of different kinds of foliage. And so I hope you don't miss that one. We just use maybe this brush and just wiggle and wiggle up the other side. They kind of have a neat little rounded leaf, a little heart-shaped leaf, comes to a point and down the other side. But we won't really get into too many leaves today because you'll have to see that on the leaf show. And don't forget to check out the Technique tape because that's going to have a lot more things on it. Okay, let's try. Let's see, how about something we haven't done for a long, long time? How about doing a carnation, a beautiful little pink carnation? That's kind of a mystery to everybody. That one's a little different. You don't see it painted too often. How about way down here? And I've got the filbert brush again, that rounded brush, and we're going to block in a little shape. Now this is a totally different shape. It starts out kind of rounded, but it's going to have more of a flat bottom. We're going to bring the petals down. You're looking at this from the side. This is going to be a side view. Ragged edges. See, sometimes I can get a very narrow stroke by using the edge of this filbert brush. Other times I can get a fatter stroke. Narrow and fatter by using the flat of the brush. So that makes a difference. I'm constantly rolling the brush in my fingers to get the different strokes, the flat of the brush or the side of the brush. My brush never stays in one place, it's rolling. A lot of times on TV you can't really see that. Now we're going to bring some petals way down here. Now let's put a stem in here first so it makes sense to you. Well, I think I'll stay with this brush. This is the, excuse me, this is the filbert. And we're going to come up using the edge or the tip of the brush. Watch this closely. Come up, and we're going to twist to the flat side. And that puts that fat little end or calyx. I'm going to highlight a little bit. That was come up on the edge and flat, and tuck it right underneath the flower. And I'm going to rinse off the brush with Chirp. And I'll show you how to do this. It's so simple. We'll take some rose, some beautiful rose with a little bit of white in it. And we're going to start. The carnation has a lot of little kind of half circle petals like this in layers, like that. And we're going to brush or paint them in this fashion. But of course we'll have our darks underneath. But that's the idea. That's what I'm doing on here. I'm going to dip down, pick up some more light color. It's painting them in little layers. See that? Let's start way up here again. Let's go back up here. And allowing that dark to show underneath is what's going to separate those layers. Pick up some more white and just plunk around. They kind of crash into each other and overlap some places. This is a flower you don't see painted much because people just are afraid of this one. They don't know how to, it's a mystery. Maybe some of them have little points coming out as they drop down. Now remember, this is the side view of the carnation. I've never painted a straight-on front view in a bouquet. I imagine that would be okay, but I don't know, I think it's much more interesting to turn some of the flowers to the side. Just as it is a portrait. When you do portraits, it's much more interesting to turn it to the side a little bit. And these droop down a little bit. And out here we can get some real ragged, they look like they're cut with pinking shears sometimes by using the point of that brush. They're so pretty now. They have all those carnations in the florist that they even dye all different colors, the greens and the blues and everything. Okay, let's pick up some white, a little more white, and we'll just highlight just a few of these, just a couple, where they're coming more toward the viewer's eye, more toward the viewer. Gary and I have a beautiful, beautiful garden, so if you're ever in Ashland, I hope you can come and do some photographing in our garden. We've worked real hard the last couple of years getting it together. Also, we have a website. Don't forget to check out our website, and you can see everything that's happening. There, and that's your carnation. That is so simple. There's just nothing to it. Let's see if we have time to try a little daisy while we've got this filbert brush in our hand. I'm going to start out with some gray. And how about coming up right over here? Now the daisy is, usually you can put it in with a flat brush or a bright brush, but I like to put it in most of the time with a filbert brush because it already has those nice rounded hairs. You would want to start out, say we're doing a white daisy, with a base tone, lots and lots of petals. We'll do this one looking more straight at you. I'm just going to pick up some more paint, some more of that gray, straight at you. So they have lots of little petals. Don't make a star like this. There may be flowers like that, but you want to get a lot of petals in there. And we'll pick up the white, some white, or this could be a yellow daisy. And, oh, you know, I'm going to go back. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I'm going to put a little center in there first. How about a little center? Just some yellow or yellow and orange. And you just swirl the brush around. Just swirl it around. You could pick up a little sienna and orange and maybe get a little darker toward the bottom. And then we'll rinse off our brush and pick up our white. And you're going to start at the outside edge and push and lift, push and lift, push and lift, allowing some of that gray to show through. Push, 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 push. And around the back, petals, oops, got a little pink in there. Well, that's okay. We'll just leave it in there. Now after these have set up a little while, you can go back and put more petals. We'll try it here. Get some more white petals in, because some daisies have a lot of little layers. Let's get a stem. On this one, come up with the edge of the brush and push. Maybe some little leaves. Little leaves out here. The right brushes are so important. I mean, it's just, you wouldn't want to have an operation by a surgeon and have old beat up instruments and have them all rusty or whatever. You just have to have the right tools. Let's do a little bud maybe up here, and let's put it right up here. This one is maybe just partly open. I'm just going to aim to a center point here with a bunch of little petals. Get a little bit of white on the front side of it. Push and lift, push and lift. Remember that push lift stroke. Push lift. A little stem. And there you have your little daisies. Now don't forget, we'll be getting into a lot more strokes, a lot more flowers, a lot of different flowers on that technique that Gary and I are going to do for you. But that gives you a start. That gives you an idea of just how simple it is to do all these beautiful little flowers, and it's so easy to get started painting. So get your brushes out and get started, and I hope you join us next week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.